What's going on, riders? We're here at Independence Harley-Davidson, and today we'll be taking a look at the Harley-Davidson Street Bob.
Infinit Ryda.
All right, so what's going on, riders? This is the second video in the new series Harley-Davidson for new riders, and we're actually out on the Harley-Davidson Street Bob today. This is a 2020 unit, and we're just going to be going over some of the benefits of the Street Bob for a newer rider. The Street Bob is going to be an excellent option for someone who just got their endorsement or just learned to ride a motorcycle and is looking for something a little bit bigger or larger than the Sportster. It's going to be a more roomy and more comfortable ride and allow you to take the motorcycle on some longer adventures or longer road trips or something like that. I myself am 6 feet 220, 230-ish pounds, and I sit on this bike completely comfortable, as you can see here. There's plenty of room for myself. My legs have ample room, and they're actually at a very comfortable bend where I feel completely comfortable on the motorcycle. It also comes with these mini apes, which some of the Sportster 1200s come with as well, which bring my arms exactly where I like them to sit when I'm riding, which is, that was a bee or something just almost smacked me right in the helmet, which is just a pinch lower than shoulder height. It keeps you very comfortable for extended rides and things like that. And with this bike, you're going to get into the big V twins, which is the Milwaukee 8s, and this is a 107 unit on here, which the Milwaukee 8 or the big twin, it's going to have a smoother engine per se. It's not going to be as much a vibration or as shaky, as some people say, as the Evo motor. So it's going to be a lot smoother ride, which is definitely beneficial for newer riders. Some newer riders don't want the shake or the vibration that comes with an Evo motor, and they want that very smooth motor and smooth sound. And this engine is going to provide you with that. You're going to end up with more power out of this unit, but it still has an extremely smooth throttle response, which is very important when it comes to a newer rider. You don't want anything that's going to be too touchy or too sensitive, because until you master or learn your throttle position, you don't want something that as soon as you touch it, it's just going to vroom, vroom, just completely be jerking. As you can see, you know, it's a very smooth and responsive throttle, but if you roll on it, it's not going to completely throw you out of your seat immediately. Another thing is you're actually going to end up with 6 gears on these units, which helps in the long run, especially for if for fuel management. You're going to save more gas because you'll be able to be going at a higher speed in a lower RPM because you have a whole nother gear to go. And it's going to be better for once you become comfortable and are ready to get on the highway. You won't be completely revved out when you're reaching those highway speeds. Now this, along with the soft tail standard, are going to be your segue into the soft tail lineup. This unit does sit on a soft tail frame, which is going to have a very responsive suspension and a smoother ride, which helps out newer riders, because if you're a newer rider, you don't want to feel non-stop bumps or too much in the road. You want to have a smooth ride, so that way you can focus on your throttle control, your throttle response. You don't want something where every time you hit a bump, your wrist is just like that, and you know, you wouldn't want that. And the fact that the bike has a much smoother engine is going to have you out there riding it a lot more. And what do you need to become a good rider? A lot of seat time. The more you're in the saddle, the better you're going to become as a rider. That's just natural with anything. The more you do it, the better you become. And the fact that this engine is extremely smooth is going to make it more pleasing to ride. You're going to want to get out and ride it a lot more, and you're going to be more likely to ride it for extended periods of time. Another benefit for newer riders is the Street Bob's going to come with a more up-to-date gauge cluster, where you actually have a fuel meter on there where you can see how much fuel is in the bike. It shows your RPMs. You also have a remaining miles to the tank of gas, which is extremely useful, especially when you're a newer rider, until you have learned the amount of miles that your bike can get per gallon. You got that there for you. So if you're out riding and you're worried, like, oh goodness, am I going to run out of gas? You can just look down and it'll say, hey, you got 30 more miles before you run out of fuel, and you know to start looking for a gas station. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience riding the bike currently, right now, as I'm sitting on it. I have to say, it is extremely comfortable. Now, a lot of stock seats that come with newer motorcycles are going to be comfortable for a short period of time, but this seat feels surprisingly plush as well as comfortable at this current moment as I'm sitting on it. And the bike feels really comfortable, like I can ride it for extended amounts of time. And if I'm a newer rider, I'm not going to be opening the throttle wide up. I'm going to be basically learning how to control the bike, learning my throttle position, and this bike is very forgiving when it comes to that. But once I do get used to the bike, the power is there and ready to be delivered when I need it to as well. So there's like that perfect sweet spot that you can ride in. When you're a newer rider, you know, you twist it maybe a quarter of a turn and you're right there where you need to be to get used to the throttle and get used to the performance and get used to riding a motorcycle. But then once you get used to the bike and you want to open it up, it's there immediately. It's immediately delivered. Now, as far as the ergonomics of the bike, they're exactly where they should be. I feel extremely comfortable. I feel like I could sit on this bike for extended amounts of time, and that's the most important thing when you're a newer rider. You want an extremely comfortable bike. I know a lot of riders, they learn to ride and then they're like, oh, I'm going to go get a sports bike. Well, I'll be honest, I've ridden sports bikes for extended amounts of time, and a sports bike is not going to be one of those bikes where you're going to want to put 3, 4, 5 hours in the saddle. You're not going to want to sit on that thing forever because your back is arched, you're linked down, you're going to have weight on your wrists depending on which bike you get. Versus this bike, you're in a comfortable upright seating position and you're able to stretch out a little bit. I feel like this bike is perfect for a taller or shorter person. It's not too tall of a seat height on the bike, so if you're shorter, you're perfect to sit on the bike. And if you're taller, you can push these bars forward a little bit just by loosening up the 3 Allen keys there, and that way you can get a little bit more reach out of it. And being that it's on this soft tail frame, it's very responsive and it handles the road tremendously well. Like, I'm going down this road right now, which is a road that does have quite a bit of imperfections, and while I know I'm on a road with imperfections and dips and valleys and bumps and this and that and the other, I'm not feeling it the way you would expect to feel it. It feels tremendously smooth, which would make you want to be on the bike for extended amounts of time. But the other thing is, once you get, this is a bike you're going to be able to grow with. You'll be able to grow with this bike because I feel like you will never get bored with it because it has the power. It has the big V-twin in it, the same motor that some of the larger bikes have, and it's it's one of the lighter Harley-Davidsons in the soft tail lineup. So if you want to give it some gas, which I'm going to do on this curve here, you can feel it, and it's extremely responsive. It is extremely responsive, and it feels like the bike is balanced very well. It doesn't, it'll go in a straight line, it'll go into a corner. So newer riders want to get out and adventure and explore and do a lot of things. They want to go to the mountains, they want to go to the twisties, they want to get out and ride with as many people as possible. With this bike, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to ride with people on smaller bikes as well as people on larger bikes. You'll be able to go up to the mountains and carve up some canyons a little bit. Now, you're not going to be dragging knee or nothing like that, but you're able to go up there and have a good time. You're able to take this to the beach or wherever you want to go and have a good time on the bike. And along with all of that, what's very important to a new rider? The style. Styling is tremendously important. Newer riders love their bikes and they want them to look extremely stylish. And this is a bobber. That's what it is. That's why it's called the Street Bob. It's basically a stripped down soft tail that looks just like a bobber. You can completely customize this bike, and it's a great starting point if you want to do some crazy bobber build, which when I get back up here, I'll show you another Street Bob that Miles has. He has his own YouTube channel, Put Miles on it, and his bike looks good. I'm actually pulled right over there next to it. He put a Saddleman seat on it, an aftermarket exhaust system, and I think he's waiting to put his T-bars on. I think he has some T-bars, but I'm gonna go over here and show you how it looks. I'm gonna park them next to each other and let you take a look at the two bikes. There's his bike right there. I'm gonna pull right behind him so you can compare these. Okay. Now, if you look at the two bikes, they're both Street Bobs. Miles has added on S&S slip-on exhaust, which gives it a better exhaust sound, and he threw on a Saddleman seat, which changes the look of it just by adding that seat on. So there's simple things you can do to the bike to make it look a lot better, or just to customize it and make it your own. I think it looks great just like that, but of course with that Saddleman seat it does look better because I'm a Saddleman fan. I love Saddleman seats. What I don't want any new riders to do is fall into the trap of, I'm gonna actually take it back out here and do the loop real quick on our range. I don't want any new riders, and as you can see, I'm riding it at a nice slow speed. It's handling perfectly fine, but I don't want any new riders to fall into the trap of you have to get what they call a beginner bike, because the biggest thing is you want to get a bike that you like, because if you don't like your bike, you're not going to get out there and ride it, and if you don't get out there and ride it, you're not going to advance or become good in your craft or your skill of riding a motorcycle. And as you can see, this bike can handle the peanut, as we call it, perfectly fine. This is a perfect bike for a beginner. If this is the style of bike you are looking for, do not hesitate. Don't listen to someone telling you, oh, you need a 250, or oh, you need this, you need that. Get the bike you want. That's something I am a strong believer of. If you get the bike you want, you're going to ride it and you're going to become a lot better at your craft. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and pull this puppy back in. But if you want to see more videos like this, check out the playlist to the left, Harley-Davidson for new riders. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell notification so you can be notified when videos like this or any other videos are posted. But as always, stay safe, be blessed, and get out there on two wheels, people. Love y'all. It's your boy Infinit Ryda signing out. Deuces.